Hello, the doc is in, and today we are doing a different kind of video. We are doing a Clash of the Chads. On one corner, we have Lord Boros, alien dominating the universe, come to Earth, kicker of bald men. That is the man in one corner, an extraterrestrial with the hands ready to brawl, ready to blow up planets as his final move. On the other corner, we have a expert teenage martial artist who has a little bit too much angst and hates heroes and monsters to a certain degree, who, with a little dap up from God, turned into a cosmic entity, possibly dangerous enough to also dominate the universe, easily angered by bald men. If you don't see a through line here, a lot of chads have a problem with bald men. I don't know. Maybe bald men are the villains of every chad's story. But neither here nor there. We're going to have these two behemoths of One Punch Man go head to head in theoretical combat. And I'm going to do a little power scale of them. Mostly Garou. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to have fun here. I did post a short about this a little bit ago. If you want to check that out, you can check it out on the channel or whatever. But yeah, we're gonna have these two fight, and it's gonna be a cool and fun time. Most of this is going to be focusing on Garou and his scaling. So let's start off with a little bit of Boros scaling. So when we look at Lord Boros, we have a number of different feats and abilities he's able to display in his short time in the manga. Also, quick disclaimer, this is a manga continuity based battle. Yes, it is. Awakened Garou has not had his full run yet, but I feel like there's enough information out there at this time to determine a pretty reasonable runner between Boros and Garou. So there we go. Anyway, so in Garou's presentation in the anime, because we'll use that as visuals, but in the anime and the manga, he shows off some pretty good skills. He's able to blitz Saitama pretty early on. He's able to get some good little bit of scruff off on Saitama. That's a pretty big feat, since most enemies, the only scruff they get off on Saitama is their blood when they are obliterated. So Boros comes off very powerful. His biggest feat during his time fighting Saitama is that he kicks Saitama to the moon. Not instantly, but he kicks him to the moon pretty fast. Now obviously Saitama comes back after this, but it's a pretty significant feat to be able to do that. He's also able to use the star roaring cannon towards Saitama, and now we don't get to see the full effects of it, but it's implied in the move and implied by Boros that it's able to not only destroy at least everybody on the surface of the planet, if not the entire planet in and of itself, but considering it has star roaring cannon, it could possibly destroy a star as well. That depends on how you want to scale him exactly, but these are pretty much all his feats. He has really good regeneration, even to the point where after getting obliterated by Saitama, as most monsters do, he was able to come back together. Even after taking the serious punch, well, kind of taking the serious punch, he didn't get directly hit by it, he's still kind of alive. Now given he's like lost at this point, but he's still kind of alive after that attack as well. And so that's pretty much Boros. Like I said, Boros has been around for like quite a while. The anime covered him a long time ago, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who have already scaled Boros as he is shown in the manga and the anime. So yeah, I don't feel too inclined to spend an exceedingly long time on him. So there we go, Boros covered. Next up, let's cover my awakened cosmic boy, Garou. Now, looking at Garou, we're going to do a little bit more of a detailed analysis of his abilities, especially since he's pretty brand new. People may not have a full concept of like what feats he's shown and how much he can really do, especially since Monsterized Garou isn't even in the anime yet. So yeah, And also, for this fight, we're using specifically Awakened Garou. So we're not really going to be focusing on like previous iterations of Garou versus Boros. You could really debate whether the, let's say, fully monsterized Garou would be able to handle Boros. I say that you can't really say heads or tails about it, because monsterized Garou kind of doesn't have enough feats for like a proper analysis. I mean, you can make a debate about it for sure, but I think it's more interesting to compare Awakened Garou to Boros. And so with that being said, we will be using some of previous iterations, specifically monsterized Garou, as a kind of representation for what Awakened Garou can probably do, just because, you know, monsterized Garou is much older and has been going on and been doing a lot more stuff. So kind of using previous versions to kind of like pseudo upscale up to Awakened Garou kind of makes sense, in my opinion at least. With that being said, let us start off with a simple category of strength. Starting off, when we look at strictly physical strength, we can say that a good comparison would be that Awakened Garou is strictly about as strong as a, let's say, I want to say semi-serious, because that's not the, let's say a non-murderous Saitama, which obviously that sounds like a weird quantity to use, but it is quite the feat, at least at One Punch Man, to be able to match strength and match blows with Saitama. Something that, to my memory, has pretty much never happened in the manga outside of maybe Boros, who even he was kind of at a disadvantage when fighting Saitama. Garou in this situation seems to be, even to his own words, seems to be matching up with Saitama at the level of strength he's using to fight him, which, like I said, is a feat. So strictly strength wise, let's say whatever level Saitama's been fighting at this entire time, or at least been using to fight most of his enemies so far, this arc saga thing of Monster Association area, Garou has at least matched it, if not probably slightly stronger than what Saitama has shown, and probably has more to his repertoire that he can maybe throw out. He can definitely match Saitama in strength. So I say strength wise, about Saitama, about non-murderous serious, kind of, sort of, not really, but a little bit Saitama level. Alright, it's on a great scale for strength, okay? It's kind of hard, but that's pretty much what I would say strength wise. If we want to say technique wise, he is pretty much a master of most fighting styles. He has copied the fighting styles of many different characters, not only Saitama, but we have the water flowing rock smashing fist, we have Bomb's fist, we have Seiyu's fist, we have pretty much every martial artist, Watchdog Man's abilities. The combination of all those different techniques, the God Slayer fist, and at this point the All Life Eradication fist, which seems to give hacks, which we'll cover in the hacks portion of this little power scale presentation little thing. But basically, techniques wise, he's pretty much the top of the top, at the point where he can even copy and hone the skills of others to a point of, as in his own words, perfection, which is pretty big on techniques. We're talking power slash hacks. Power wise, I will just direct you to the Gamma Ray Burst, which is, as described in the manga, to be the biggest explosion of power and explosions known to man in the universe, as far as we know. Which is that's quite the feat of power. We don't know if he has any other energy projection based abilities outside of that Gamma Ray Burst in Awakened Garou mode. In Monster Rise mode, he was able to do propulsion things with his hands and stuff, so he might still be able to do that now. But definitely, he has a similar ability to Boros, where he's able to expulge a lot of energy all at once in a beam kind of format. The strength of this beam even being to the point where we can't say it knocked out Saitama, we just don't know that, but it definitely is necessary to be blocked by Saitama, and 2, it is capable of, in some way, shape, or form, propelling him away at least. It causes him to block and be propelled away. Again, that doesn't really necessarily mean anything, but again, it's Saitama, so really being able to make Saitama do anything is quite the feat. Hacks wise, as I was mentioning with the Eradication Fist, he now understands a full flow of all energy and can split atoms. Now all we've seen him do is the nuclear fists, which allow him to cause nuclear bomb level explosions in his punches, which is quite the feat. And we don't know how much further this goes. Is he able to control like gravity and so on? Is he able to do other things with atoms? Is he able to like create things with his punches? We don't know. All we know is he can do nuclear fission, which, as I said, is about the level of nuclear bombs as shown by the fact that the people on Warship get an alert that there's like basically a nuclear bomb alert. There's a nuclear explosion, so they get an alert similar to if there was an actual nuclear bomb that went off in the area that they're in. Another thing for his hacks is, as I mentioned before, he's able to pretty much copy all abilities, and he's able to go into different modes based on the people he's copying. We saw that he's able to copy Saitama, and by extension we imagine that he's able to copy anyone he's previously fought in, and he's able to use their exact same techniques, I guess based on strength. If he's able to copy your technique, he's using a similar, if not equal level of strength to perform the technique, and he's able to hone the technique to the point where he is allegedly better at it than you are, allegedly. We also know that he's also capable of regeneration, as we've seen in previous iterations of his abilities in Monster Rise Garou form, and coming up to Awakened Garou form, he's able to lose limbs and regenerate. He's able to heal pretty fast. Said by one that apparently he uses dark matter to conduct this regeneration. Once again, that was in an interview, maybe it's different now, but nonetheless he's able to do regeneration in previous iterations, and I can only assume that in his newest form he's also still able to do regeneration. Next up is durability, and probably the last section in quantification for power here. Durability wise, I'll probably have to say, well, he's able to take punches from Saitama. He takes a normal consecutive punches from Saitama and doesn't immediately explode into piles of mush. He's able to do this in his Monster Rise form, and in his Awakened Garou form we don't even really get to see him get his durability tested too much, because he's able to match Saitama's normal consecutive punches. And he's actually does, at the end of that exchange, take a punch from Saitama at the very end, and comes up perfectly fine, as far as we see, with no wounds or anything of the sort. And that pretty much sums up the culmination of what Awakened Garou has been able to show us so far, at least in one chapter. He's to a point of strength where pretty much everyone who's currently on the battlefield is giving up. That includes Flashy Flash, Genos, etc, etc, etc. But with that being said, that's not necessarily a feat at the moment, because all these people have been in fights, taken damage, and won or lost or been exhausted out of their fights. Even Tatsumaki's not even up at this moment, so we can't necessarily use that as a feat, but the aura he presents definitely is enough to send people running just from existing, not doing anything else. And that's pretty much it for Awakened Garou. So when we have these two titans of strength and One Punch Man, an alien and a wannabe monster, who would win? Honestly, the answer in my opinion is pretty straightforward. It basically just comes down to Awakened Garou did a normal consecutive punches against Saitama. Awakened Garou not only, I wouldn't say tanked, but he definitely got hit by one, but he didn't immediately die, which, considering that most people die without even getting a named attack, is pretty big of a feat, and he didn't immediately get destroyed by this normal consecutive punches. From there, we say in Awakened Garou form, he copies normal consecutive punches. By his statement, says he matches Saitama, and by presentation matches Saitama in punches, and then takes a hit from Saitama at the end of the normal consecutive punches and seems to be fine. Versus Boros, his presentation against Saitama, as I pop this little visual, alright, he gets hit with the normal consecutive punches. We're not going to mention the number of hands he uses. He uses one arm in that version, versus against Garou he uses two arms, but that's not necessarily necessary to scale. It could just be for, you know, visual purposes. He gets hit with the normal consecutive punches and explodes. Now, he is able to regenerate from this, but it's very clear that after getting hit with that, he's pretty winded, and after that, that's when he uses the Star Roaring cannon. And so I think, based on the fact that just that particular feat alone pretty much puts Garou above Boros in my eyes, pretty significantly. Even if we want to go even further with it and say that Star Roaring Cannon versus Gamma Ray Burst, if we're taking the statement by one, or Murata, the narrator, whatever, seriously, and saying that the Gamma Ray Burst is objectively the strongest explosion in the world, and Garou in essence just did a Gamma Ray Burst with his own energy, I can only assume that Star Roaring Cannon probably gets washed by that, in my opinion. I mean, once again, we can't know for sure, because the one thing that holds Awakened Garou back from being defectively above Boros is just the statement from Saitama of the fact that he's not trying to kill Garou. He's not going to kill Garou, etc., etc. Now, with that being said, Saitama does also say that he's not going to get his clothes damaged, or at least he's not going to get hurt. And then he gets all his clothes like basically destroyed through the scuffles with Saitama, and Garou's in essence able to get rid of Saitama with his Gamma Ray Burst. Now Boros is able to do a similar thing with his kick to the moon, but he isn't really able to destroy Saitama's clothes. You can take that as you will, but in my opinion, I take the statements to Terrio and everything as a situation where Saitama, knowing he's very strong and overpowered, says these things feeling like there's just nothing that Garou will be able to do to him, because most monsters aren't able to do anything to him. But Awakened Garou is able to supersede the level of strength that Garou assumed he would be able to use against Garou to beat him, and is able to actually catch Saitama off guard, ergo being able to overpower him with the Gamma Ray Burst, at least for a moment, and definitely able to match his strength, at least at the level he was fighting him with initially. Because even though Saitama isn't necessarily trying to kill him like he was trying to kill Boros, he's very obviously still trying to defeat Garou to a certain degree. Especially considering the fact that he's using named attacks. And whether you want to say that he's lowering the strength level of it or not is up to you, but in my opinion, I see it as if he uses a named attack, he's always using a named attack level of attack. And so that is pretty much me finishing up this clash of Chads with a easy wash by Awakened Garou. I mean, I can't. What do you want? honestly, what do you want me to say? It's Garou. His techniques are better. I can't really say for speed, but his techniques are better. He's shown more power. Definitely has more hacks. He has similar abilities to Boros, but just objectively better. I can't sum it up any other way. I mean, if you feel otherwise, feel free to leave it in the comments. But all I'm saying is that short
You are coping and seething.
says it all. It's cope. It's cope. It's mad cope. You're coping. There's nothing else to do. Boros loses. I even just from a logical perspective, Garou cannot come up after Boros as a main villain, but then be weaker than Boros. That doesn't make any sense. What would be the point of the scale going up of the fights and everything, and more characters are being pushed more to the limit and doing more to get the same victory, etc., 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 just for the main villain to end up being weaker than Boros? I mean, I'm just saying the S-class characters are stronger than they were when they fought against Boros' team, and are now afraid of Garou, but Garou is weaker than Boros. I mean, you could argue Boros never met everybody else, so yeah, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, it looks like an easy wash by Garou. But if you feel otherwise, like I said, leave it in the comments. Might hop in there, might say a couple words, see what you gotta say. If you spitting, don't worry, I'll tell you spitting. Don't even worry, bro. I'm always on the side of truth and fact. But I think I'm right. I'm just saying. With that all being said, leave a like on the video if you like the video. Leave a dislike on the video if you dislike it. Comment. I've said this like 3 times. Feel free to comment. Say whatever you want. But you just tell me the video is good. I'll respect it. And if you like these types of videos and you want to see more of these and any other manga content, I'm going to continue to cover the One Punch Man manga along with Tokyo Revengers and other series on the channel. Every time a new chapter comes out, try to be there at least same day. And I also do live streams on Twitch and YouTube, so feel free to check those out if you like me. So subscribe, ring that noty bell if you want to see my videos when they come out. And the dog is out. Peace.